Welcome back, my rogues. Today's question is people that live near a restaurant that was on Kitchen Nightmares. What happened to it after Gordon left? Hope you enjoy, and check me out on Instagram. I've gone out of my way to read reviews about some of those places. Typically they change a few things, but revert to old habits and still suck. Pantalions is still open and I live less than 2 blocks from it. The owner undid all the changes that Gordon made for him and the owner cusses out Gordon whenever he is brought up. I was curious and had the same question. Found a website that tracks these things. https www.kitchennightmaresupdates compile kitchen nightmares updates html. Not sure how up to date it is since I have since lost interest. There were 3 in my area and they all closed down. I went to Mama Cherry's Soul Food Shack where Gordon praised the food and it was more a case of mismanagement than bad food. It was on the UK Kitchen Nightmares. The food was amazing. The place was lovely. We met the owner and she said that Gordon was lovely but didn't hold back on the criticism. Since then she moved to a new location but it didn't work out and has closed down. It was a massive shame as when we went the food and atmosphere were really enjoyable. It closed down 6 years later. The owners said that they lost their lease, and that's why they shut down. 23 of them went out of business eventually. He fixed the place up, but those people still sucked at running a business. Please let there be someone who lives close by to Nino's restaurant. We tried to go to Giuseppe's when they were filming and didn't make the cut. After watching the episode 1 realized why the fuck were we trying to go to a place being featured on Kitchen Nightmares before the makeover. Were doing this completely wrong. I came to the comments looking for positive stories. He came to a seafood restaurant in my town. It stayed open for about a year and now it's a shitty chain restaurant. I'm just waiting for one about Amy's Baking Company. Right back to serious health code violations within 2 months, still somehow open. They learned nothing. I am always amazed how dirt some places are. They literally know they are going to be on TV. There are 2 near me. One was a Jamaican place which he fixed, and then went back to business as usual. The owner gave up and I never had a chance to go. The other was an Italian place run by 2 twins. Food was okay, but man, those guys have no business running a restaurant. I live in Spain and he actually came to my town. The bar restaurant was owned by 3 siblings. One girl and her brothers. They had previously worked as bartender in another bar in the same town. The brothers were really cool and attracted a lot of English speakers. After a couple of years they decided to make their own restaurant specialized in cocktails with live music, TBH. They were very good but one of them had an issue. He drank with his customers, of course. 1 sip with a good customer. Okay, but he got drunk before 12 am on the other side. The bar was owned previously by a Spanish family and was pretty hidden. So it was difficult that new clients would really go there. Besides that, they offered barely food and people still went to the bar where they worked before, so it was going okay but not perfect, so they called Ramsey. I like Ramsey. He is a good cook but he changed the cocktail bar to a tapas bar. Tapas bars are everywhere here where we live. Nothing special, and he raised the prices. You can say, okay cool, but no Spanish people want original tapas. Not tapas with small changes like less garlic or added chorizo. And the Brits living here want original food as well, so everyone kept going to the other places where it tasted better and was cheaper in the end. After summer, they closed. I don't think it was only Ramsey's fault though. It was many things. Economic crisis, behavior, timing etc. But you can see that it's just a show. They really don't care if you make it as a restaurant or not. They want people to watch the episode and gain money. It shut down. Rip Amy's Bakery. You get what you fucking deserve. I went to one I later found out had been on Kitchen Nightmares. Fucking awful Mexican restaurant up in New Hampshire. I asked for a margarita with salt. Instead of rimming the glass with salt like a sane person, they dumped a shitload of salt in the drink before mixing it. Their mole also tasted like a fucking ashtray. Was awful. Lived in that town for 3 years, and my only options for a burrito was at Moe's, or driving an hour and a half out of my way to a decent place run by 2 old crusty hippies in Vermont. Here in Brazil we have Kitchen Nightmares by French chef Jacquin. There was a restaurant with a very arrogant owner. The food was bland because the owner didn't let the cook use her seasoning. The kitchen conditions were bad. Then Jacquin asked to see the freezer which was in another floor. The smell there was awful and the chef even ended up vomiting lol. The meats were in an awful condition, and the owner said he turned the freezer off during the night to save energy. which is just absurd. The chef got so angry. They yelled at each other and the chef decided to leave. He said afterwards in an interview that he really wanted to abandon that restaurant and don't finish with the episode, but he ended up coming back there anyways. You'd think that restaurant was doomed, right? There were so many people wanting to punch the restaurant's owner in the face, but no. After the episode was aired, the restaurant got so popular, YouTubers went there to film and the freezer became like a tourist attraction. At least it seems the owner changed his behavior for the best. The YouTubers who went there said the food was really good. And after talking to the owner and the other workers there, it does look like they stick with the changes Jack and made and improved their quality. Good for them, lol. I grew up really close to Peter's. They closed about a year after. Where I currently live, Restaurant Impossible came and redid an Italian restaurant. Didn't even last 6 months. Unless there is a major overhaul in how they do their financials. Most probably don't have a chance. You can make it as pretty as you want, but if you can't pay the rent or vendors, you are not going to last. It was run by management that didn't accept they couldn't put their kid in charge of shit. And neither of them were keen to clean. It was shut down very shortly after, I think within the year. Slightly off topic, but if you go to the Amy's Baking Company episodes on YouTube, you can personally argue with Amy Boogaloo, who stalks the comments to this day. I live near a small pizzeria bar that was on the show. Got shut down like 3 times after he left due to rat and cockroach infestations. The owners announced it closed in 2017. Then I think new owners got in and now it is pretty much a karaoke dive bar. Or the place may just be vacant now that I think about it. I haven't been by there in a while, but I remember bikers hanging around on weekend nights. I could check on it tomorrow. It was the Casa Roma. Season 3 Episode 7. Was bought out by Bloomin' Brands and was rebranded as an American steakhouse and now has 2 locations. UK here, it closed. It's now been reopened as a Chippy. Question: where does Gordon Ramsay even get the money to do up the restaurants? I always wondered how many weren't sold straight after. Brand new restaurant with a new lease of life. It's ideal for unloading them. We went to one several years ago. Unlike most, they kept the same menu and decor. Like to the T, literally nothing branching away for the good and bad. Expensive but still good. Owner sold shop a few months after we went. Saw the owner who was on the show there and even had pictures on the wall from the episode. Our town had one on Restaurant Impossible and it literally closed down and was replaced within 6 months. In 2005, my wife and I held our wedding rehearsal dinner at a restaurant that shot a Kitchen Nightmares episode a few weeks before. Unbeknownst to us, the food was good. Very good, even. But the problems with that place came down to the manager using restaurant money to settle and expand gambling debts. He wasn't even an owner or partner. His sister owned the place and lost her home after it shuttered. The story from that episode, both the show and of my life, is that it isn't good enough to love food if you want to run a restaurant. You need an anal retentive operations manager who only thinks in dollars and cents and would happily fire anyone there without hesitation if they threaten the ability of the restaurant to continue. You need a bad cop. This place didn't have that. It was from season 1 in Babylon, NY if anyone is curious. Right by Amy's Baking Company. Walked by many times, never went in. Amy and Sammy were always fiddling on their phones. Agent Carter. I live near one in Massachusetts and it had a really great turnaround after they left. Place is still booming and pretty successful. It's a beachside seafood place. The purpose of his show was to make ratings, not help people. There was a restaurant in Nashville that had the best Cajun food I have ever had. One of those where the chef owner was displaced from Katrina, I believe. They had management problems but their food was awesome and they were always packed. He turned their menu into garbage and they went out of business immediately. There's one in our town. During the episode, of course, he pushed back and seemed unconvinced. The changes implemented in the show lasted about 4 weeks. Eventually the restaurant was seized and closed by the state for non-payment of taxes. He tried to open another restaurant in town, but I don't think it lasted a year. He left town, naturally. He blamed his appearance on Kitchen Nightmares for his failure. Even appeared in the Bastion of Truth, the National Enquirer. If you regularly watch the show, you should not be surprised that most of them close down. The vast majority of restaurant owners are under the impression that their restaurant is perfect as it is and just needs the promotional factor being on the show. They're not prepared to take real criticism or work to improve anything because they are absolutely certain it's not necessary. Not Kitchen Nightmares, but an awful bar in my area was on Bar Rescue, and sure enough, It's open, doing a lot better and seems to have genuinely changed for the good. It mostly just had nicer decor, but we always got takeout so not much changed for us. Then they sold it to a guy who put big banners out front advertising that it had been on Kitchen Nightmares. He openly mistreated the chefs in front of customers and the food started sucking, so we stopped going there. Mainly it was just that they couldn't cook the chicken properly anymore. Some of it would be rubbery. It's a shame because the food was really good. We got takeout once or twice a week from there for a few years. That was close to 5 years ago, and before the shutdown it appeared to still be in business. Legal Area 33 in Boston was near me. They were on Kitchen Nightmares and I went there twice. It was really good after he came in. They were open for 6 years after Ramsay went there. Was a real nice success story. Restaurant closed down in 2018. Weirdly I know of two. A Greek place near me was on Kitchen Nightmares. It has switched owners at least 2 different times since then. The second one was actually a restaurant my friend's family owned when she was a kid. It ended up shutting down, but mostly because her dad wouldn't follow Gordon's advice. I've been to the old Hitching Post. It's definitely better after being on the show and has stayed better since then. People used to talk bad about it before and avoid it. Now it's considered a normal restaurant with good food. The bar in my town was on Bar Rescue. The things they did were totally unsustainable. They bussed in people for the filming and told the regulars to stay out of the way. Told the owners they could no longer have live music also. Turns out that without a bus to transport young people and a TV crew, all that was left was the regulars. It took a few months before the middle-aged crowd demanded live music again and thing went back to normal. Cafe Hon in Baltimore has been doing great ever since. Unfortunately they temporarily are closed due to COVID-19. We are starting to see MD restaurants open back up for carryout now. I live right down the street from La Bistro. Still open, but never dined there. I might check it out if you guys are interested. Leone's in Montclair is still open. It's in a great location and the food is really good. Sometimes the service can be a little better, but overall a great pizza Italian joint. I watched the Kitchen Nightmares episode and couldn't believe it was the same place. Gordon Ramsay himself has admitted that a lot of these restaurants only make it onto the show because they are beyond saving or right on that cusp. Sometimes you just have to pull the cord on that life support. But it can't hurt to get a Hail Mary reality TV show plug, except Amy's Baking Company. The restaurant near my studio survived for a while after the episode aired. It was a really emotional episode and I think the owner garnered a lot of support from the community. It was located in an area where bars and restaurants are the primary draw. Nonetheless, the writing was in the wall. The demographic was changing and the demand for mid-level Italian restaurants just wasn't there any more. It would break my heart to walk past the restaurant, empty, and see the owner standing in the doorway, arms crossed, watching all the other restaurants on the block filled with patrons eating and drinking and laughing. They eventually closed and sold their building. They probably made a small fortune from the property sale though. So there's that. Also, Gordon Ramsay seems much shorter in person. And during filming, he would eat breakfast at the same coffee shop every day, which I would interpret as a tacit endorsement of their coffee and egg sandwiches. It shut down and building was abandoned for years with occasional dude bros showing off their Subarus in the parking lot. They finally tore it down I think 2 years ago. It was the Mad Cactus in Strongsville, Ohio. Chapel's show. Peter's Italian restaurant was in my town. Never recovered and closed completely within a year or so of airing. Can't show those kind of gross practices have been in place, expect to bounce back after. Plus, the owner was outed as a degenerate, questionably connected, asshole. Doesn't fly well in small towns. The animatronics started moving by themselves. I live near Mama Maria's Pizza. I remember seeing the episode where Gordon was pressing him about the fact that he was serving in a professional restaurant setting and needed to wear a nice, black dress shirt as opposed to his blue t-shirt, and told him that as the business owner you should not be working to make the pizza yourself. I decided to go there and give the food a shot. Upon entering the restaurant there were pictures of the owner and Gordon hanging on the wall. Note: all the pics of them together had the owner in a black dress shirt. So I ordered just a standard margarita pizza and guess who brought it out? The owner wearing the same blue shirt. LOL. The pizza was decent though, nothing terrible. Nothing great, unlike some of the other food you see on that show, but then again I only got the pizza so I can't speak for the rest of the food. Lived several thousand miles from a few of the restaurants, which is closer than living on the moon. And can honestly say that life has never been the same since. Still open, very busy, good food, good service, same owner, lot of the same help. They totally got their shit together. A pandemic hit a month later and it had to temporarily close.
Hope you liked this video. Stay frosty, my rebels.